Hi, I'm Keegan Cassady, and I have with me Megan Behm, director for Atheists Paradise. And I'm just going to be asking her a few questions about directing and the show and that whole deal. So, you're a director.
Yes.
Awesome. Why directing? Why did you, of all of the things you could do in theater, why did you pick directing?
The thing I really like about theater is that you never stop learning.
Mm-hmm.
You're always picking up new things, suddenly having to become an expert in a field you only know so much about. You're learning about people all the time. And I think the thing that's most rewarding about directing, while I do love acting and I kind of am learning about other areas of theater as well, the thing I love so much about directing is that you have to get really in depth in something and really understand it and really learn all aspects of it, and you're constantly surprised by the actors you're working with and the audience response and the little bits and pieces you pick up when you're doing research, if you're doing a historical play, that sort of thing. So I find that as a director I'm constantly learning, which is fun and exciting.
That's excellent.
Yes.
What projects have you been working on recently?
Oh goodness, I've been all over. This is the big one right now. This summer I was actually teaching at Adventure Theater, and I had an internship at the American Shakespeare Center, which was lovely. But right now this is kind of the big thing. And then after that, I don't know. We'll find out. It's a mystery.
Cool. So this show, Atheists Paradise, what is it about?
That's a really good question, because it's about a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the reasons that it'll draw in a lot of audience members and that people will be interested in seeing it and interested in talking about it is that it kind of grapples with a lot of big questions. It uses a lot of philosophy and kind of metaphors, using some sort of philosophical writings as metaphors for things that are going on in current modern day politics or on college campuses, that sort of thing. But it has a very human focus. It focuses really in on 3 or 4 characters and what they're personally going through. And so I think that you'll find that while arguably it's about 1 or 2 big ideas, there's kind of a little bit of everything in there. So I think that 2 different people might get 2 completely different things out of the show, which I think is exciting and can help us as we start to get into rehearsals go in a lot of different directions. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that takes us.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. How do you, when you're, as a director, how do you approach a script like this?
Well, the thing that's fun about a script like this is that I primarily direct older plays, especially Shakespeare, and so much of working on shows like that is how do you reinterpret it? What's your concept? What are you doing with it that's different? How are you going to show off this text in a new way that people haven't thought of before? And with a play like this, it's brand new that nobody's ever seen before. Really, your only job as the director is to serve the writing and to give the play a chance to breathe and live and kind of just let the text itself kind of speak, as opposed to trying to impose some sort of directing
concept onto
it. Really, it's just my job to just help feed what's there and to help stage the best version of this new text that I possibly can. So it's a very different kind of challenge, and I'm
been working with older text.
Shakespeare. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that. So with this play, really, it's been a continual kind of over the summer. We had a staged reading. We've been talking about the script a lot, and it's been through kind of various forms and various stages, and it's really just been about listening to the actors and hearing what naturally happens when they read this play and what are their instincts, and we're kind of using that as a launching pad for all sorts of ideas.
Cool. What's changed? I mean, since you first got the first manuscript of this thing, how has this changed how has it evolved?
I think it's become much more streamlined, which is exciting. The play when you have a play that is trying to do so much and is exploring so many different things and wants to touch on everything, it's really tempting to go really in depth into everything. And I think the thing that we've discovered as Bill has been making revisions and I've been listening to the actors and the designers and kind of thinking about what it needs is that we found that we've kind of honed in on a couple of things really carefully, and by focusing in on those few key scenes, the other kind of orbital ideas are getting played up as well. They don't necessarily need their own scene or their own argument or their own discussion because of what's already been covered. They're allowed to speak for themselves. So I think what's really exciting as it's kind of molded and shape-shifted is it's become a lot less about the ideas and a lot more about the characters. And I think that's inherently more interesting to an audience and to me as an artist. So making it a play about people that are going through some stuff and trying to understand these ideas, as opposed to the ideas themselves speaking through people, it's kind of reshifted and re-geared and has a very, I think, a human focus on a couple of people, which I find very interesting.
That does sound very interesting.
Yeah.
Speaking of people and humans and process, what's your plan for your rehearsal process? How do you usually, as a director, approach rehearsal? How do you go into this?
When I'm lucky and I've cast the show well and I'm blessed with a good group of actors, directing for me is kind of like a smorgasbord. It's like I just kind of watch them work, watch the actors work, and kind of go, that was a great idea, let's take that. That was a great idea, let's take that. I'm not so sure about that, let's leave that, and maybe come back to it. So I really like to give a lot of room for the actors to play and explore, and kind of just give them a framework to find out what their instincts are and where they want to go. And, I find that there have been a lot of ideas that I've had going into a play that I've completely scrapped once I've seen what the actors want to do or what they could do better. Because honestly, what an actor can come up in rehearsal, what an actor can come up with in rehearsal is always going to be more interesting than what I can come up with in my room. Right. Or like in the car. Because I'm just one person.
Right.
And having a good ensemble of actors is always going to create more excitement. That being said, you also have to know when to say, it's a good idea, but it doesn't work.
Right.
So that's why I like to compare it to kind of picking and choosing. I like to have things kind of set and have a framework about halfway through the process. But really the first couple of weeks is just kind of playing and seeing what we like and what we don't. And not so much worrying about where do you have to go right now, what prop do you have to pick up, what do you have to put down, that sort of thing. I'd much rather kind of shape the play to the actors than trying to have the actors kind of force them into little boxes.
Cool.
Yeah.
So is there anything crazy that happens in the show you think will be really interesting for an audience to see come to life? Like visually? I don't want to give away too much, but the set design is really unusual and different and fun and very basic. Who's the designer?
Brooke Robbins, and she's lovely. Brooke Robbins is the set designer. Ed Moser is the sound designer. Allison Samantha Johnson is the costume designer, and Brian Allard is the lighting designer, and they're all really good at what they do. So I'm really excited and very blessed to have them on board. It's very simple. There's not too much nonsense and kind of, gizmos going on, but it's cool and it's different, and I think that's going to be visually very interesting. The challenge with working in a space like Milton Rehearsal Hall is that we have to strike it every weekend. So we have to come up with something very interesting that's like small and basic but different. So that I think will be fun to see how that progresses. In terms of what the audience might latch on to, one of the big arguments in the play is, what is the point of a college or university education?
Right.
Like, not necessarily what is its point, but what is it designed to do?
Right.
Is it designed to purely educate? Is it designed to prepare you for the real world? Is it designed to do both? What skills are most important as you move forward in life? And I think with kind of the current economic situation the way it is, there's been a lot of stress, especially on these small liberal arts colleges, to produce an output that can be measurable. And that's hard, because so much of why people like us went to a liberal arts college was to get that well-rounded, interdisciplinary sense of knowledge. And it's kind of hard to to just put a number on that or
Yeah.
to put it on a piece of paper and hand it into a board of trustees. So this play kind of looks at both sides of the equation of, that you have to survive economically, but at the same time there's a duty to your students to provide a certain kind of learning that they will take with them for the rest of their life. So I think that's just one of kind of the big arguments in the play that I think, at least at the read-through, people were really interested in because it is such a hot-button topic right now. And so many universities are getting in trouble financially, and so many of them are cutting programs. And so it's just, I think that's something people will be very interested in.
Cool. Yeah. So, as a director, who would you say that, like, with all these ideas and concepts and ways to pull things out of, who would you say has been one of the most influential directors to you with your own process so far?
Well, I really like to, because I'm still young and I'm still learning and I'm still developing as an artist, I really like to balance watching other directors work with doing my own direction. Because then, you can kind of pick up ideas and then implement them. So I'd say that I carry with me a little bit here and there of every director I've ever worked with.
Sort of like actors picking and choosing what you like or don't like.
Yeah, and that there are I've had certain mentors who have a really good way of doing things that works for them, that I'm not that kind of director. It doesn't work for me. That being said, I can still glean certain kind of tricks and keep those. The way I structure a rehearsal is very different from some of the directors I worked with, the way they structure rehearsals.
I'm with Megan Behm, and we're actually currently discussing the growth of DC theater in your youth.
Yeah. So it's just been really exciting to kind of watch how it's expanded, and there are certain directors whose work, who I don't even know personally, but whose work I've always been interested by, even if they make an interpretation I might not agree with, but who I think is always doing something exciting or unexpected, and so seeing their plays growing up, and now that I'm back here as an adult and as a director, it just really shaped who I am as a person, I think.
Cool.
Yeah.
This play itself is a lot about identity and discovering who you are and like an identity crisis. When was the moment when you found out like you wanted to be a director?
The first time I ever directed a play, I was 16. It was Much Ado About Nothing, and one of my best guy friends and I did it with a student run Shakespeare troupe at my high school, and it was really fun. And I kind of had this little bug in the back of my head going, you want to do this, this is what you want to do, and I kind of ignored it, because honestly deciding you want to do theater is a big scary decision, and I was 16, and I kept kind of directing, and it reached a point really where my freshman year of college, where I was just sitting in some theater class, and I suddenly went, no, screw it, this is what I want to do, this is my life. And I'm a little weird and different and unusual in that I've just kind of known that I've wanted to direct since I was a kid, since I was a teenager in high school. But the thing that I've come to realize recently is that I focus so much on that. The thing I've come to realize recently is that I really like other aspects of theater as well, and that it's helped me be a better director. Dabbling in things like design and choreography, for example, which I never thought I'd do professionally, and I've done a little bit of here and there, has really expanded the way I think about directing and spatial relations and putting people on stage and how a play should look, which is honestly something that I sometimes struggle with because I'm so interested in like the acting that I kind of forget about the big picture. So that's been really great for me.
Excellent.
As a director. Yeah.
What do you think of your cast? I mean, obviously you like them, you cast them, but how do you know them? Do you know them? Was it just an audition?
They're brilliant. I love them. They're great. There are 6 actors in this company, and 2 of them I've worked with before. 4 of them I have not. And I was just, honestly, I was surprised because we had an insane amount of turnout at our auditions. And, you know, I was lucky because there were the kinds of characters we were looking for were actually, we had a couple of options for each one. And, you know, it's always surprising when you have auditions. There's one particular character that named Bob, who both Bill, the playwright, and I had kind of seen in a certain light. And then we saw who we had at auditions, a couple of our leading candidates for that character, kind of changed the way we thought about him and kind of changed the way we wanted to cast him. So sometimes in auditions you can completely change your mind about a character and what they might look like, what they might sound like. Not necessarily who they are as people, but kind of the way they fill a space, or the way they look, or the way they sound, or the kind of energy they bring to the room. So that was fun. And then in terms of Doc and Sheila, who were the other major characters, I saw a lot of really good people and ended up casting 2 people that I've worked with before who are good, very, very good. And I'm looking forward to them, seeing them do these characters.
Great. Now, the man who you eventually cast as Bob is Victor Maldonado, am I right?
Yes.
Great. And then your Doc and Sheila, that's Nick Torres and Rebecca Phillips?
Correct.
Great. Very cool. So you worked with those before, and you worked out with them in Romeo and Juliet, right?
Yeah, production of Romeo and Juliet I did a few months ago.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that's all the questions I have. I'm looking forward to see how this process evolves.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, sure you'll do a great job.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good chatting with you.
Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, good night.
Cheers.